My fiancé spent 6 years shaming me for not being a virgin and demanded I wear red instead of white to our wedding to announce my impurity to 150 guests. When I secretly got everyone to wear red in solidarity, he returned with a firearm, and that's when I discovered the real reason he'd become obsessed with training me. Brian had always been obsessed with virginity so much it was almost creepy. It started when we met. In passing, I said, "My ex liked that band," and Brian's face just crumbled like a cookie. Turns out Brian couldn't fathom that I'd had a high school boyfriend, one boyfriend, who I'd slept with at 18, 3 years before the concept of a Brian even existed. That first year was torture. He'd randomly ask about my ex during dinner, sulk through romantic movies if they mentioned past relationships. Once, mid-makeout, he stopped to ask if I compared him to my ex, which should have been my cue to run. But instead, he'd cry these pathetic tears and swear he'd get over it. "I just need time," he'd say. "I've never felt this way before." So I stayed, like an idiot, thinking love could fix his weird purity complex. By year 2, the comments stopped along with the sulking and questions, which made me think we'd grown past it as we moved in together. 4 years later, he proposed with his grandmother's ring at sunset on the beach, and I said yes to what I thought was a changed man, until a month ago when everything unraveled over wedding dresses. "I was talking to my coworkers," Brian announced during dinner, "and I don't think you should wear white," which made me laugh because I thought he was joking about some wedding tradition, but he wasn't laughing. 2 weeks later, I put down a deposit on my dream dress, a stunning white ball gown with delicate lace, and when I told Brian, he lost his mind. "What color is it?" he demanded, and when I said white, he actually stomped his foot like a toddler before declaring, "You can't wear white because white is for pure women." Pure. That word hung between us like a grenade. 6 years, and we were back to him obsessing over my virgin status like some medieval lord. He wanted me to wear red to announce to our 150 guests that I was some fallen woman who dared to have a life before him. "It's different for guys," he spat when I pointed out his hypocrisy. "Everyone needs to know what kind of woman you are, and wearing white would be deceiving them." He even dragged his mother into it, but instead of taking his side, she suggested he should wear red too, which made him burst into tears because mommy wouldn't help him slut-shame his fiancé. That's when I knew I was done. I'd learned to hide my rage from Brian, but inside I finally accepted he'd never see me as anything but used goods, forever punishing me for not saving myself for someone I hadn't even met. "You know what? You're absolutely right," I told him the next morning, voice dripping sweetness. "I should wear red." His whole face transformed as he actually thanked me for being reasonable and respecting tradition, while I smiled and nodded, mentally orchestrating his destruction. See, Brian had paid for our entire $30,000 wedding to impress everyone, but he couldn't be bothered with actual planning. That was bride stuff. So I made some calls, starting with the wedding planner. We're switching to a red theme, passion red, and Brian's very specific about everyone wearing red for the photos, which didn't even make her blink since she dealt with stranger requests from tech money. Then I called every single guest to tell them Brian decided on a cohesive color scheme and he'll be so hurt if anyone wears other colors, making sure my bridesmaids and both families got the red memo while telling them to keep it secret as a surprise for how amazing the photos would look. I bought a spectacular red silk dress that cost twice my original, because if I was burning this relationship down, I'd look incredible doing it. I also told the planner to keep Brian facing the altar until I walked out, because he wants the first look moment to be perfect. Saturday arrived like Christmas morning as I got ready in my crimson gown, watching through the window while red-clad guests filled the venue until every single person, from his stick-up her A's Aunt Margaret to my beer belly Uncle Tony, wore red and the entire garden looked like a poppy field. Brian stood at the altar in his black tux facing forward just as I'd arranged, completely oblivious and probably imagining